Drew McIntyre has officially quit WWE, but we know that's not the end game here for his feud with CM Punk. We know that McIntyre will be back soon enough, and it's just really a matter of when he'll be back. And I think it all starts with seeing if that question is answered on Friday at SmackDown, because we know that CM Punk has officially been advertised for this week's SmackDown, where it will be in Chicago, and we know that that entire arena is going to be chanting CM Punk. They're going to be behind CM Punk whenever he walks into that ring to, as he said, hopefully get himself cleared to officially make his return as an in-ring performer. However, we also know that that is where Drew McIntyre could come into play here to really make this thing interesting. And I think if you're making bets right now on where Drew McIntyre is going to get his sweet, sweet revenge on CM Punk, you would have to think that the likely favorite would be Drew McIntyre showing up on Friday in Chicago to just completely destroy CM Punk the way that Punk has destroyed Drew McIntyre in a different way, in keeping him from getting back that world championship that he won and held for 5 minutes and however many seconds it is at WrestleMania 40. I think there's a lot of potential options in play here, but to me, that's the one that makes the most sense, right? Because Punk just did this to Drew McIntyre. He went all the way there to Scotland. There was no other reason. Punk was not on the pre-show. Punk was not on commentary. There was no reason for CM Punk to be in Scotland, and the reason he was there, ultimately, was to screw Drew McIntyre out of exactly what he wanted. And I think that is where CM Punk's biggest motivation right now is what? His biggest motivation is to get back in the ring to continue his career as an active wrestler. That is his motivation, because that also sets up the likelihood that Punk's going to be able to get his hands on Drew McIntyre again. Punk's going to be able to go after championships the way that he wanted to when he first returned to WWE last November. But what would prevent that? It would be Drew McIntyre just mauling him and just, beating him up all over the arena or whatever they decide to do if this is the direction they go, because that would be the revenge, right? That would give Drew McIntyre feeling like he got a little bit of something back on CM Punk. And what else does it do if this is what they decide to do by bringing McIntyre back immediately on Friday after he just quit WWE on Monday? Well, it also puts us in a position where this thing gets even more personal. And I think, in all honesty, if you look at some of the biggest feuds that WWE has had in recent years, and really, I mean, you probably go back even longer, right? This feels like one of the more personal feuds they've had at the top of the card. Now, of course, you can think about, the other ones like Cody and Reigns. It was different. Cody and Rock started getting a little more personal. Some of the other feuds that have been there, and I know I'm forgetting some right off the top of my head, but they've done such a good job with both of these guys injured for such a long stretch there early on, right? You go all the way, remember, this goes all the way back to the Rumble. And you think about how far now they built this over the past 6 months and how personal this has gotten without Punk even wrestling a match during this time frame, and Drew only returning recently to be able to, again, get that opportunity against Damian Priest at Clash of the Castle. So they have done such an effective job of making this more and more personal, igniting this feud in a way that was not going to be easy, given the fact that you can't have both guys in the ring together having matches like we're used to seeing when you have, professional wrestling feuds. You're used to seeing these guys in the ring fighting each other, but it's been completely different. And now this is where I think is the opportunity to really turn up the aggression for Drew McIntyre. We saw it on Monday. It was a breaking point for Drew McIntyre, given what happened at Clash of the Castle. That was the chance, right? Yes, McIntyre was pissed at what happened at WrestleMania 40. But he could get it all back by winning the title from Priest in Scotland, the ultimate sort of dream scenario here for him, right? But Punk did it again. He took it all away from him again. So you have to have McIntyre continue to build off of this breaking point, which the first breaking point was WrestleMania. The second breaking point becomes when he quits WWE and just, storms out, has the little backstage interaction with Triple H, and he's out of there, right? But now I think you want to see another side of Drew McIntyre. You want to see this thing turned up to 10, right? And I think that is probably the direction WWE seems to be heading into Chicago on SmackDown on Friday. Now, you could also play another side of this and say, well, if he does return on Friday, was this the most effective way to do it in terms of rushing it? I've seen some people say, well, you can't just quit on Monday and then all of a sudden you come back on Friday. Remember, too, McIntyre has deleted his social media. he has wiped himself clean from WWE at this point after making the official quit on Monday's Raw. But if you want to say, all right, have they rushed this thing a little bit too much? If he decides to come back on SmackDown, should they drag this out a little bit longer? Because the expectation is we're not going to get this match until SummerSlam. I don't think you're getting this match at Money in the Bank. And you could also say, well, wouldn't this have been perfect to tie into Drew McIntyre's contract situation? Because let's say McIntyre, decides to quit. They play the same angle up during that whole contract negotiation scenario. Because then if he quits, you're like, wait a second, he may actually be done here. They may actually be writing him off TV or whatever. The timing didn't work out, and I understand why they did it without that added in, because you did have to use Clash of the Castle and the location. Everything had to be kind of perfect to pull it off the way they did. So I just think it makes the most sense to now go with this, to put McIntyre in Chicago on Friday. You think he's gone, although, again, most of us kind of understand that these two are just playing the cat and mouse game here with McIntyre and Punk. And so to have McIntyre show up, just completely destroy CM Punk, I think that takes this thing another step forward. And then what does it do? It prevents Punk from being cleared. If McIntyre just destroys him, it doesn't allow Punk to be cleared. And maybe we have to wait a little bit longer for CM Punk to get cleared. Just when Punk thinks he's about to get what he wants, as I said earlier, maybe it's McIntyre who prevents him from getting cleared. The doctor can't possibly clear him after McIntyre just goes out and, again, does whatever to him. Who knows, right? Like puts him through a table, whatever you want to use out there. But you see that aggression from Drew McIntyre that leads to Punk being down and out and injured again. Maybe that's how they played the story, to drag this out a little bit longer to SummerSlam, which is not that far away now when you really think about it, right? We've got Money in the Bank, but SummerSlam is not that far away. It's only a month and a half away. So I think there's ways to do it to where you can build to that match knowing you're not going to do it at Money in the Bank. It just doesn't make sense to do it at Money in the Bank. This seemed like always the destination was going to be SummerSlam. We've talked about that in previous videos. Felt like Punk was going to be back, ready to go by then. The timeline seemed to work. So they're going to do this match. It's not going to be for the title, and I think that's okay because this has gotten so personal between McIntyre and Punk. This is one of the most well-executed feuds I think WWE has had in quite a while in terms of being a main event type program and the way these two have played off of each other with the promos, the different angles, like, the Punk referee thing, and now you're kind of channeling some of those old school type feuds in WWE that remember, and I know some people have pointed out, you can go back to the mid 90s, late 90s, where you've got stuff like, Austin and Bret Hart. You've got some of these others. Of course, Bret interacted with Shawn Michaels. A little bit different here. I don't know if they're going to get the complete actual screw job scenario, although you kind of got it, I guess, in Clash of the Castle. But, so there's a lot of ways you can play this out. I would have to think, though, this is all setting up for the big return and the sweet revenge for Drew McIntyre in Chicago. If not, then the question becomes when, right? When do you do it? Maybe you wait a little bit longer, knowing that you are not going to do this match until SummerSlam. You don't want to set it up for Money in the Bank, but they can still go ahead and do this, and with the understanding that you're not getting this at Money in the Bank, right? They don't have to, wait just to say, all right, you're not getting this here, so we need to wait off a little bit longer. We all know where this is headed. We know this match is going to be just huge, given the magnitude of the feud now. And so my prediction would be that we see Drew McIntyre in Chicago on Friday. If not, then I think we go back to the starting point and try to figure out exactly when they decide to bring him back. It does feel like a little bit of a short timeline to have him do that on Monday and then maybe come back on Friday. But if you think about the story, this is something where why would he not do it now, right? If McIntyre is, the trolling, all the stuff that we've seen from Drew McIntyre, why would he not do this now? Why would he not do it in Chicago, given every step that Punk has now taken along the way? This is the one that just makes the most sense. So if that happens, I'm curious to see how they pull it off and really see if they turn this up a notch to have Punk just completely laid out here by Drew McIntyre. Maybe not Uncle Howdy and Wyatt Six style, but maybe they will turn it up to that level, given how much these two guys hate each other. But we'll see what happens with Drew McIntyre's revenge on CM Punk, whether that comes on Friday, whether that comes, next week or further out. We will see how it unfolds. So you guys let me know what you think. Do you think Drew McIntyre is going to be in Chicago on Friday on SmackDown to take out CM Punk, to prevent him getting cleared to return to the ring? Or how do we see this play out? Maybe McIntyre just waits until Punk is officially announces that he's clear, and then he just hauls off on him to try to take him out again A lot of options on the table. You guys let me know what you think in the comments. Always enjoy the discussion. As always, hit the subscribe button, hit the like button on your way out. Lots of videos here looking at all these different storylines in WWE. We always have fun with this, making predictions. We don't always get them right, but we have fun looking at the stories because it is a lot more interesting these days with WWE building out some of these top feuds and, having a lot of fun with it. So appreciate you guys watching as always, and let me know your thoughts and predictions on the next turn in this saga between CM Punk and Drew McIntyre.